There's so much to dwell on, there's so much to talk about when you talk about this historic win that India registered against Bangladesh in Kanpur, including the one big talking point. What exactly is it that came from the Indian captain or the Indian head coach? Everyone's wondering who is it that is actually to be credited. Is it Row Ball? Is it Go Ball? Whatever it is, we have a little bit of insight as to what exactly happened in the Indian dressing room, and you can decide who to credit then for this India win. Ashwin, well, he was the man who came up for the press conference, as is the customary thing to happen after the test match gets over, and these are the thoughts of Ashwin. I'll come to the fact about who to be credited about the win, but he touched upon some of the other things as well. First things first, he was asked about the young talent that India have in Yashasvi Jaiswal, Shubman Gill. He said that Jaiswal is a special talent, both in their native stages of their career, and will be future pillars of Indian cricket. Overseas tours will make them even better as cricketers, and both are high quality players. Again, these are things that we already know about the two of them, is also that Ashwin said. Let's move forward now. Let's tell you about other things that he touched upon. Now, he was also asked about his thoughts on the India win, and this is the bit that I was alluding to earlier. Now, let's straight away dive into what exactly is it that Ashwin told us at that press conference. He said that Rohit was very clear that we needed to bowl at least 80 overs in the second innings. Now, let me add something over here before I go forward. He said that after India were able to dismiss Bangladesh in quick time, Rohit was already thinking as to how much time India then needed to be able to dismiss them again. So he wasn't quite thinking about the runs. He was thinking about how much time he needed to dismiss them for a second time, and which is why the declaration, perhaps because you wanted that buffer of 10 overs, and that's exactly what Ashwin says as well, that having 10 overs in surplus was always going to help. And that's why, if you were wondering why is it that India declared at 285 for 9, didn't let Siraj come out to bat, because Rohit was looking for those extra 10 overs on day 4. He said, we will go hammer and tongs, and this is the interesting bit that's now coming your way. He said that we will go hammer and tongs, and we knew that Yashasvi would play a certain way that he does, but when Rohit talked the very first ball for a 6, well, he walked the talk, and as dressing room then, there is no choice. When you walk the talk as the captain, the dressing room has no choice. So from being said that we will go hammer and tongs, there goes the Indian captain into the middle, smashes the first ball for a 6, and the dressing room gets the message very clear. So now you have the answer. Who is it that who could really be given the credit for? I'm not saying that give it to Rohit and don't give it to Gambhir, but the jury is out, and you can decide and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Moving forward now, on his test achievements now, because many saying that maybe he's in the twilight of his career again. Ashwin believes he's still at the top of his game, and there's so much that he's achieved. But he talks about Rahul Dravid. He says that Dravid used to mention the one thing, and this was, again, the question was to do something with chasing records. He said that Dravid used to mention the one thing, that you will remember the runs, that you will not remember the runs and the wickets, but you will always take the memories. It's the memories that will always last with you. So he stopped thinking about achievements, what he has and what he can break in terms of records, but he's looking at building a good rapport with the people that he is playing with. Now, the big one, comparison being made with his like-for-like player in the team, in Ravindra Jadeja. The question was as to what he's thinking, because as we've seen in the past as well, there's only one between the two that have played, and the expectation is that the same will happen. He says that I don't think about it anymore. Earlier, I'd be lying if I don't admit I used to dwell on that thought earlier. Not anymore. In fact, I feel happy if he's the one playing on the field. Verbatim, let me tell you what exactly is it he says. He says that if he has to play, he has to play. I have his back when he has to play. Nobody likes to miss out, but India is blessed to have two such players. He talks about himself. He talks about Ravichandran Ashwin talks about himself. He talks about Ravindra Jadeja, and he says India are in a blessed space. There are two people that are so good, you find it hard to have them in the same 11. But even if he's sitting on the outside, and he never liked sitting on the outside, he said that it's absolutely natural. You don't like missing out of gain, but he stopped thinking about it now. He doesn't think about it anymore. At one point, he says he used to. Now, thoughts on limited test centers. This is another thing that's been doing the rounds. Virat Kohli's video in the past has been doing the rounds on social media where he asked for limited test centers. Again, there are places like England and Australia where you see something like this happen. This question was asked to him. He says that so many test centers have helped cricketers come through, and this is what he was talking in Indian setup where you have different centers. It just makes cricket more accessible, and that's how it helps more and more cricketers to come through. He's saying having a few test centers definitely helps the players because you get used to the conditions and the performances then get enhanced. He says England and Australia do that, but you can't comment on what we can do over here. He was not willing to comment on what can be done in India going forward, but does make a point that okay, it does happen in Australia, it does happen in England, and it does help test cricketers at times when you have those centers already outlined and you know beforehand where you'll be playing. So those were the thoughts of Ravichandran Ashwin. If you ask me, my biggest takeaway is when he talks about Rohit Sharma's approach, how he led from the front. He may not have contributed a lot of runs, but when he took the first ball for a 623, I think is what he finished with in the first innings. But the way that he got to those 23, there was no way that the dressing room was not going to follow his vision. And he had already said in the dressing room that we'll go hammer and tongs.